Welcome in. Happy Friday. It's Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast. Brendan Glasheen joined by Charlie DiSturco and Anthony DeBundo today on a Friday for Payoff Pitch. We're here every Monday, Tuesday, Friday. And please rate, review, subscribe, Payoff Pitch. We appreciate it. 14-game slate on this Friday. 8 games starting before or at 4 p.m. Eastern today, so some afternoon games to monitor. We have Apple TV action, Rangers, Cubs, Padres, Braves. That was a good finish on Thursday night. Good series, kind of a barometer kind of series early in the season. And then, of course, the Phillies are hosting their home opener. So, and DeBundo's came, he's came dressed to impress, hopefully, for the Phillies, the 1-5 Phillies. Anywho, let's dive right in, fellas. We will do best bets. We'll find out if we're going to fade the public. Underdogs we like. And speaking of fade the public, there is a pitching matchup that I find very, in terms of Action Networks, just being with this company now for a year and a half or so, I'm very fascinated by a pitching matchup that we can talk about today. And then also some final bets, and then we'll get out of here on a Friday. So we'll go DeBundo first. Best bet for Friday.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Minnesota Twins up to -130. You can find some -125 out there at home against the Houston Astros. And it is significant that it's in Minnesota because Jose Urquidy has a significant split difference away from home versus at home. If you look at his stuff plus, it plays below average on the road in his career and well above average at home. Something about playing, whether it's the roof or just the comfort or the warmth of the Houston air. He pitches much better, and his strikeout per 9 rate is considerably higher in that park. When they go on the road, it's significantly worse. Already, even if you took out Parks altogether, Sonny Gray is the better starting pitcher in this matchup by about a half a run based on pitching plus projected ERA. And I'm not really too concerned about Minnesota deciding to load manage their lineup again. I almost bet the Twins the other day, and Buxton and Kepler were ruled out. They're coming off of an off day, so not too worried about them. But like I said, this really is all about the market, I think, being a little wrong on Urquidy. If you just take a normal Urquidy projection, it doesn't quite travel as well. And thus, I think the edge is with Minnesota at home here. Their offense also in the better split against righties, whereas Houston prefers and hits better against left-handed pitching. So I like the Twins at home.
Charlie DiSturco, money line play for you as well. What do you got?
Yes, I'm backing the Yankees here, -125 up to that -130 range. Dean Kramer is one of the guys that I've been trying to fade entering this season. He got shelled by the Red Sox in his debut this year. Negative regression candidate, had an xERA over a run higher than his actual ERA, 4.46 to 3.23 comparatively to last season. And, when you look at his advanced metrics, expected batting average, expected slugging, all of that concerning to say the least. And now he's drawing a Yankees offense that I think grades out well here. He's drawing Clark Schmidt, but I'm backing not the Clark Schmidt we saw in his home opener or in his debut this season. I'm the one that had a 3.5 xERA last season and a 2.22 expected batting average. Listen, when you look at this matchup, the offenses, the Orioles offense is playing great. The Yankees offense is playing just as well. They grade out just about similarly across the board. But I think the key difference here is the pitching, right? Kramer, Schmidt has the edge. And then when you look at the bullpen, the Yankees are first in xFIP, and the Orioles are about league average at 16th. So Bautista hasn't been phenomenal, and he's their best arm. And if the Orioles are not up here, they're not even going to get it to him. So I like the Yankees here as short favorites on the road against Baltimore.
We'll dive into some of the windy atmospheres later on. DeBundo's got a thought on that. Baltimore included. They're hosting New York. They were one of the rain-out games yesterday. Moving on, we'll find out if we're fading the public. We've got the White Sox and Pirates. White Sox getting a lot of the bets, 72% of the bets. The money's 60-40, 59% of the money coming in on Chicago against Pittsburgh. Lucas Giolito. I mean, it's kind of a shame, no offense, fellas, that Zerillo's not here, because Zerillo just, like, the way he talked about these guys last year, and you guys too. I mean, but Zerillo would just guys that there's just certain names he would bring up on this podcast, and I go, okay, like Syndergaard was one that always came up. Kikuchi was one that always came up. That was probably more of a Whitchurch one. But then you've got Lucas Giolito. That's a Zerillo name. And then Rich Hill. That might be a Charlie name because he's got thoughts on this. But Giolito and Hill, gross. The fact Giolito's getting a lot of love here. Of course, he's a younger kind of a washed out prospect, it feels like. And then there's Rich Hill, who's still pitching in Major League Baseball. Debundo, are you willing to take the Pittsburgh Pirates at a short money line number, or are you going to back the people and take the White Sox?
I am not. I'll look to play Pittsburgh live as soon as Hill gets out of the game. I don't love this, left-handed pitcher against the Chicago White Sox. It's been a trend that has not played well for the last really 3 years. I know some of the names have switched and changed. Jose Abreu's gone now. Eloy Jimenez on the injured list. Those are, two guys that have traditionally hit left-handed pitching very well. But I don't have a ton of interest in betting Rich Hill here. But like I said, if this game is tied, I agree with Sean and really the sentiment around Giolito. His stuff plus continues to be below average. His command comes and goes. When it's there, he can be an above average pitcher. When it's not, he's really bad. And so there's a lot of question marks about Giolito as well. I was looking to play the over, but even at 8.5 at this ballpark is a little bit out of range for me to bet it. If it got down to 8, I would bet the over.
Charlie, I know you have thoughts on this game, and you actually might be willing to be with the people.
Yeah, it doesn't sit well that I'm going against Zerillo here, but I do think the White Sox are worth a look here at that -130 number. Giolito, since September, actually had like a mid-3 ERA. Obviously, he doesn't grade out extremely well and has been a pain, or I guess, a positive for us fading him in the past. But Rich Hill is really the reason why I'm on the White Sox here. And you'll hear me throughout the entire season, as long as he's still pitching in a Pittsburgh Pirates uniform, on why I'm fading them. I faded him against the Reds in the first game of the season. I'm going to fade him again here. He's 43 years old. He's not the same pitcher that he once was. He got hit hard by the Reds, had an expected ERA above 4 last season, and his strikeout numbers you're just seeing dip year over year. And his walk rate, it remains around that double-digit mark. The White Sox offense, Debundo noted how they are against left-handed pitching. Obviously, different names, but they still have a decent walk rate and a quietly top 10 WRC plus this season. Obviously, short sample size, but Pittsburgh, if you've been watching them the past couple of weeks, it seems like they've been hitting the ball well. They had some high-scoring games against the Red Sox, but they're actually down at 24th in as far as WRC plus goes offensively. So I don't think the Pirates bats can get to Giolito that much here. I do agree with Debundo. It's obviously concerning to bet Giolito, but I am not going to take this opportunity to not fade Rich Hill. So I'm going to back the White Sox.
Yeah, O'Neal Cruz was day to day, but looks like he's going to be in the lineup today. That's a note if you were worried about that.
Well, worried if I was taking the White Sox. Sean Zerillo tied up today with UFC work over on the Action Network podcast. So that's a plug for Zerillo. But, don't worry. Don't you worry, people. He's got plenty of picks in the app for this Friday slate. You think he was going to pass up on this? And he's got Pittsburgh at +125. That number, of course, has come down. So if maybe it is the smarter play now to take the White Sox because you're not getting the better number with Pittsburgh. So there you go.
Yeah, the White Sox took money overnight. I know the Rich Hill straight fade, team total over for the White Sox 2.5 was +125 down to about +105 now. So that has taken some money the other way, and it did move toward the White Sox and then has come back a little bit in the last couple hours.
Yeah, if you're looking to fade Rich Hill, you could do it first 5, you could do it team total, you can go with the money line. I took him last night. I still like him at this number. It's just one of those things that the back half of that Pirates lineup is just not great, and I am going to fade Rich Hill at every second I can.
Are these first 5 team total overs going to be like insane by May? Like, I feel like you got to get in on the fun now, right? For your Corbins, Hunter Green, potentially. We're going to miss out on so many. Well, not miss out, but these numbers and lines will become inflated, I feel like, by at least May.
Well, there's always going to be people that will emerge throughout the season as well. You not always know going in who it's going to be.
That's true. That's the beauty of the America's.
We were all down on Corbin going into last year, but it wasn't until May or so that we realized like this is cliff territory. And Corbin's going to make 30 starts this year, I think, unless he gets hurt.
And Jake Arrieta's not here anymmer, so he can't get the Jake Arrieta first 5 team total overs.
Is Corbin like the new? Is he going to be this year's Dallas Keuchel? Is that strong?
I would say he's right up there with him.
Right.
Yeah,
I would actually take Keuchel over Corbin.
Is Keuchel in the league? I don't think he is, right? Yeah, bad. Pitched from 3 teams last year. And his last start was at Fenway that I went to. And I remember because we were on this podcast and Colin Whitchurch was like, Colin Whitchurch gave out 8 bets on Dallas Keuchel, like for that particular game. Strikeout under, first 5 team total Red Sox over, first 5 total over, all of it. It was quite enjoyable to listen to. Anywho, okay, so Charlie is backing the White Sox against Rich Hill today. That's the message here. So he's with the people, and DeBundo is deciding to stay away.
For the people.
The people. All right. We've got underdogs on the board, of course, on this slate. Pittsburgh was one of them, but we're not going to look to Pittsburgh, at least on this podcast with this current crew. DeBundo, when you look at the board today, any edges that you see from a money line perspective for underdogs?
Yeah, so I like the Miami Marlins plus 150 right now, starting to get on the move here. I think the Marlins have the starting pitcher advantage. I mean, we say that almost every day with the Marlins, but in this case, they're about a half a run better. I am a little worried about the walk issues that can pop up at times for Edward Cabrera, but from a stuff perspective, his fastball power change combo is elite and can, when commanding well, be a dominant pitcher. These two teams just played each other last week with the same pitching matchup, and the Marlins closed a favorite. I was kind of surprised by that, but you just flip home field. That doesn't make any sense now. I know the Mets won the game, but still not quite the right adjustment, I think. And so at plus 150 or better, I like the Marlins to actually, I'd play this down at plus 140 with the Marlins on the road. Sorry to spoil opening day. I know Charlie's going to be in attendance.
Are you going to the Mets game today? 1:00?
Yeah, because I was supposed to go to the home opener, and then it got rained out when there was no rain, and it was 70 degrees out in New York City yesterday. So now I'm going today.
Nice. Very good. So there you go. If you want to get the Marlins, if DeBundo's, I think he's onto something here. That number's moving. So if you want to get on the Miami Marlins, better do it soon before first pitch at 1:10 at Citi Field. Okay. Fading the pardon me, not fade the public. Underdog that you like today, Charlie.
Yes. So I like the Washington Nationals here, the plus 110 right now. I'd back them all the way down to till they're a favorite. Like, I think that this is a wrong number. It should be flipped here. I'm buying Mackenzie Gore. He took on one of the toughest offenses in baseball in his season debut, the Braves, and threw 5 1/3 innings of 1-run ball. His control is obviously his biggest issue, but I'm not too worried here against a Colorado offense. Mackenzie Gore has high strikeout numbers. I like his stuff early on, and what I've seen, I watched his entire first start there, and he's facing Jose Urena. I don't know how he is a favorite against anybody. He's another one of those guys that just I've consistently faded year over year. He hasn't had an expected ERA under 4.9 since 2018, ranks in the bottom 20% of all pitchers in expected batting average, expected slugging, and he was lucky to give up just 4 runs against San Diego last time. He didn't even make it out of the third. Control's out of whack. He's getting hit hard. When I look at this matchup, offense is about the same, bullpen about the same, maybe even a slight edge to Washington, but the pitching edge here is just too much to pass up. So I would back the Nationals plus 110 all the way down to their favorite at that minus 110 mark.
12th 1-0 game in Coors history yesterday.
We were on the Nationals.
It was the 12th 1-0 game in Coors Field history yesterday when the Nationals lost 1-0 to the Rockies. Pretty wild.
Wow.
And the only run happened because Lane Thomas lost the ball in the sun.
Yeah, so it would have been 0-0 entering the 10th.
Wow. How about that? And that was their home opener too. Like, so if you wanted to jump in on a Coors over first game of the year, that really must have been painful. All right. Well, there you go. And like for Colorado and Washington, they've both had pretty respectable opponents here to open their seasons, right? Dodgers, Padres for the Rockies, and then you've got Braves and Rays for the Nats. So it's only fitting that they get to beat up on each other now, in theory. Huh. Okay, let's move on to final bets for Friday. Again, bunch of afternoon games. We just got to play for Marlins and Mets, which is a 1:00 start from DeBundo. Anthony, when you dive into some of these, I know you've got some thoughts. Also, some wind we are monitoring in some of these outdoor games. So the Phillies home opener, the Mets game we just talked about, the Cubs are home. You've got and that's an Apple TV game. We've got Stroman v. Eovaldi in that one, and then of course the as Charlie brought up, he likes the Yankees against the Orioles.
Yeah, I mean, so there's kind of a few things in play here. You mentioned the Apple TV. Remember last year we had the Apple TV conspiracy about the baseballs and how they juice the balls for the Apple TV games. I'm of the belief now that baseballs are once again back to somewhat more normal levels of flying, and the balls have changed again. You can pull this data up on Baseball Savant. I talked about it on Thursday's episode of Green Dot Daily. There's a chart that shows the drag on the baseball when it's flying through the air and how much it's impacted. And the drag is down this year compared to 2022 through the first week of the season. And it's enough of a sample now that I think we have a general inkling that the drag on the ball and how much it will fly in the air is down. So that means it will fly further. This ball isn't 2019, but it looks closer to 2018 and 2021, the first half. Whereas, 2022, second half of 2021, we saw a lot less flying. And that's accounted for the fact that overs have been very profitable to start the season, hitting about 57%. So that is notable. That being said, there's a lot of wind in play on Friday. Sean wrote about this. I don't have any actual bets correlated to these, but it should be noted the wind will be blowing in solidly in the New York game at Citi Field. Charlie, bring a little windbreaker. The Phillies game, Citizens Bank Park, is the second most wind impacted ballpark in baseball on a day-to-day basis. The wind is blowing in Philadelphia. That is a big help to Hunter Green, who has a home run problem, as we know. Should help him keep the ball in the yard a little bit. That total got bumped up to 7.5. I would lean to the under there. The Cubs game, some books hung a 9 yesterday before looking at the wind reports. It's now down to 6.5. The wind will be blowing solidly in from right, 10 miles an hour at Wrigley. That is the number one park wind adjusted ballpark in baseball. So that's certainly interesting to note. And then Baltimore, same thing. Wind blowing in from left will impact the run scoring environment there. Will be tougher for Aaron Judge to hit homers today, even though he seems to not be. The wind doesn't seem to bother him. That being said, that's the daily wind report and the annual baseball report from me. And I'm going to stop talking now.
All right. Do you have a windbreaker, Charlie? Do you have one?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a windbreaker that I'm breaking out, and I will say, and going off Debundo's point, I do have action on both the Mets first 5 under and the Phillies Reds under. I do think both of those games, as far as wind and from a pitching matchup, I'm buying their pitchers here. Breaking out the little windbreaker for the Mets game, Miguel, we saw what he did against the Marlins. Very solid pitcher. Marlins offense just is nothing special. They added a couple bats, still nothing. And Debundo mentioned Cabrera's walk issues. As long as that's not a full-on issue, and he gave up only 2 runs last time in 4 innings, he's going to be able to get through this Mets lineup, especially if they put the ball in play. He's limited hard hit rate, and now that the wind's blowing in, love that look there. And then, the Green and Wheeler, I mean, those are 2 of the better pitchers in baseball. If you look at how good Green was post All-Star break. So I'm echoing Debundo's points on these unders. At least look toward them, if not consider them fully.
Is it possible to go to a game and not have action on it at this point? Like, like, even if you don't like the game, you always find a way, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, usually I'll go, and if I don't have a side, like as far as like a lean on a side or a total, I'll go like player prop. I'll throw. When me and Debundo went to the Reds game, Reds Mets for the Action Network like last season, and I had like 4 different Mets players that have 1.5 total bases. I'm pretty sure I swept the board because it was like the Mets ended up scoring like 10 runs, and like the Action Network grouper was Reds and under. And I was like, I'm not going to go to a game and bet like against the Mets if I'm going to be going for the Mets. So I ended up taking a bunch of props, and Debundo was not a happy camper, but I was.
Yeah, well, it was a quick death. It was under 9. It was like 8-1 in the 3rd inning or something. But yeah.
Okay, well that's good to know though. The wind for Friday, again, the teams to keep in mind: Philadelphia home opener, Mets home opener, the Cubs are at home, and the Orioles, and they got banged out yesterday too. So the Orioles and the Yankees today as well. So okay, really fast. Debundo got a couple more bets, and then we'll get Charlie's, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, so the Cleveland Guardians got steamed up to about -130 now. I'm expecting some market buyback on Seattle. When that does happen, I like Cleveland -125 or better. I'm consistently higher than the market on Savali, the starter for Cleveland. I'm a little bit lower than the market on Gilbert. Using Stuff Plus, you could actually project these pitchers within a couple tenths of each other in ERA. Pretty similar pitchers. Aaron Savali's changeup was the best graded changeup in all of baseball the first time through the rotations here. So a very impressive pitch. Cleveland, like I said, they took a lot of money this morning, but these are very comparable teams. It's pretty similar to opening day, where you have similar pitchers, similar offenses, similar bullpens. Cleveland better defensively, and the home team should be more of a favorite. So I like Cleveland. I also like the Oakland A's under. Ken Waldichuk, my boy. Zach Eflin, also my boy. Two of my guys. If the criteria was you're the best pitcher in baseball based on how I rate you compared to the market, this might be the best pitching matchup of the year. Waldichuk gave up 3 homers to the Angels. Trout, Ohtani, Ohapi took him deep. But the stuff was still fine. His slider is elite. Eflin is a classic example of the Rays pitching machine, the pitching factory. They've improved his curveball. They've improved his slider. They've raised his called strike whiff rate considerably in the first start, and a very friendly pitching opponent for him here. He gets the Tigers, and now he gets the A's. So a very friendly start to the season for Zach Eflin. I like the under 7.5 runs in that game. Should be closer to 7.
Okay, Charlie, what do you got? Take us home.
Yeah, so I already talked about the Philly and Cincinnati under 7.5. The Mets first 5 under 4.5. Just a couple more. Just a note. Twins, I wholeheartedly echo Dubundo's statement. I'm going to fade Urquidy whenever I can. Low strikeout rate, high barrel rate. And the Astros offense is pretty concerning right now for me. They're about league average in WRC plus and 25th in isolated power. A lot of that has to do with the injuries. Jose Altuve's hurt. Brantley's hurt. Right now, they're starting. If you look at their lineup and you look at their 6 through 9, most people that aren't diehard baseball fans are like, who are these guys? So I'm looking to back the Twins. I think they're completely underrated. I've talked about it all season long on how they're a team to buy, especially early on. And the last couple I'll give out, of which I'm looking toward, I haven't officially placed them yet, but I think the Padres are a bit undervalued here. Schuster, I watched his first start against Mackenzie Gore, and he had absolutely no control. Maybe it was the first game nerves, but I think at plus money, Padres are worth a look here. Nick Martinez about as average as you can get for a pitcher, but I like his chances as a ground ball pitcher against Schuster, who just got lit up by the Nationals offense. I can only imagine what the Padres offense will do to him. And then Debundo mentioned the A's. I haven't officially played it yet. I might end up small on the Athletics themselves. They're like plus 215 now. That number got bet down and then bet back up as far as the Rays go. I'm not as huge on Eflin as Debundo is. I know Waldichuk is a pretty underrated prospect, and it's just one of those things that the A's have quietly been like solid, like I mean, not solid, but like better than I thought. I thought this lineup was going to put up like 1 run a game, and they've been doing a lot better. So I think they're a bit undervalued here against a Rays team that hasn't lost yet this season.
A's
yeah, one more
2.
for me. Yeah, one more for me too. Jays Angels took a bunch of over money. I'm down on Bassett, but I think that's an overreaction in the market to him. I played some F5 under 5.
All right, very good. A lot of picks from both of you on the Friday episode. And the A's are plus 200 at BetMGM as of right now today. And of course, that's a later start, 6:40 Eastern, so plenty of time. But if you are interested in those afternoon games, get those picks in soon with the game starting up. Charlie DeSturco, Anthony Debundo, have a great weekend. Thank you so much for stopping by on Payoff Pitch. We are Action Network's MLB betting podcast presented by BetMGM. Find both of those guys in the Action app. As Charlie said, they might add more as the day goes on, or if they need the appropriate line, et cetera, et cetera. Follow both of them in the app, and you'll never miss a pick. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We are back on Monday. Enjoy the baseball games this weekend. We'll see you.